Sex, life, and tech. If you're 21 or 101, we love them all. Welcome to Age Blind with Nancy AF.
Hey, boys and girls, welcome back to Age Blind, where the date on your birth certificate is meaningless, and we focus on the things that we have in common rather than things that divide us. And today's topic is how to deal with people who are different from you. And since our theme this month is back to school season, let's just start by remembering what it was like to go to school where you were thrown into a whole new class with new people. You liked some of them, maybe others not so much. And then the teacher would create these teams for you to work on a project together. And no matter how you felt about your classmates, you all had to get on the same page and get shit done. And then fast forward to adulthood, you wind up working at a company where maybe you feel the same way about the kids in your class, that you're working with people, maybe even your boss, maybe even team members that are just on a different page than you are, but you still need to make things happen. So today's topic is getting along with and communicating with people who are just wired differently from you. And we have an amazing guest today, Dr. Matthew Zakreski, whose specialty is dealing with neurodivergent populations. Those are people on the autism spectrum, perhaps Asperger's, but people who learn differently, who think differently, and who better to talk about how to build those productive relationships with people whose brains are just different from yours. So let's just jump right in, Matt. How do you, first, let's tell us a little bit about your background. What are your qualifications?
Oh, right. Those. So I'm a clinical psychologist and I have a national practice. We see people from almost every state. California is still the one holdout, but that's neither here nor there. And, I specialize in working with neurodivergent people. And, there's a joke in psychology that all research is me search. And I work with this population because I grew up as a neurodivergent person. So I was identified gifted when I was in second grade and diagnosed with ADHD in high school. And this is usually where I make the joke, and that explained a lot. And the more we've learned about our brains, the more we realize that being smart is not just, being gifted is more than just being smart. It's literally a different brain with like some structural differences, bigger feelings, faster processing. And so to really be successful, we want to help people find the environments that support their brains as best as we possibly can while giving them the tools to navigate parts of the world that are not built for them. And it's like, nobody likes going to the DMV, right? Like nobody's like, oh boy, I sure hope I get to stand in line and fill out some paperwork. But we can all bring tools and resources to help us. Like you bring a paperback book, you get your headphones in, you listen to a podcast. That idea and just make it like a whole personality thing. Like we're going to give these people tools to navigate a world that may not be built for them.
Well, you mentioned earlier how you were labeled gifted as a kid and then ADHD later in life. I grew up in an era where the psychiatric and psychological fields didn't really know a whole lot about neurodivergent brains. They just called us weird kids or awkward kids, socially bizarre kids.
Yep.
I was very, very shy. I was very smart. Back then, I was just considered, at least in my own mind, I was weird. My friends might not have seen me that way. So do you think that the number of neurodivergent people is going up, or do you think that we just know more about human brain and human behavior so that we're labeling people more than we used to and treating them differently than we used to?
It's a little of all those things. I think we have consistently destigmatized parts of mental health. So now it's a little bit more open. It's not some dark, dirty secret to be ADHD or dyslexic or OCD. I think we've normalized a lot of that stuff. I think we do know more. So we are looking for more things for more kids. And by looking for more things, you're going to find more kids. And I also think that one of the things that's really sort of come out of COVID, right, was that all of a sudden, all these kids who were in school and supported by the structure and routine of school are now at home. And they're at the dining room table trying to do calculus. And these parents are really like, oh my gosh, my kid needs a lot of support. I didn't know that. I didn't have to see that on the day to day. And so there's increased awareness, increased sensitivity, and increased observation. The combination of those things means more people are being identified, more people are getting services. And to answer
And
your initial
so,
question, yeah.
so when we grow into adulthood, though, because, our listener base is 21 and older, do you think that adults, if they have been diagnosed, should disclose earlier on to people in their inner circle? Do you think that's helpful or hurtful?
Well, this is sort of a funny thing. Somewhere between 38 and 70% of neurodivergent people also identify as LGBTQ. Now, I say this because the process of coming out as a neurodivergent person is very similar to that as coming out as a member of the LGBTQ community. The idea is that people may not be able to tell just by looking at you, but to be your most authentic self, there may be times and places and people with whom you have to disclose that information. And I'm very open about my neurodivergence. Right? I lead with it professionally. And a lot of the kids I see and adults I see are like, yes, your brain works like my brain. We can get along. But unfortunately, it isn't always safe to be out, as it were, as a neurodivergent person. So it's really about finding who are your cheerleaders, who are your advocates, who are the people that get it. It might be your manager, it might be the HR director, it might be the head of marketing who's a creative genius like you are. But when you think about, to the adults out there, think about go back to school. Who are the teachers who got you? Was it the librarian? Was it the football coach? Was it the shop teacher? And how you may not have told everybody in school what you needed. There were some adults that you knew intrinsically were in your corner, right? And we can apply that sort of reasoning to your professional life. You don't need to stand up on a desk when the CEO is visiting and be like, by the way, I'm autistic. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it. But, one of the things that, my job is all about as a psychologist is making unspoken things spoken.
Love that.
More
Love that.
stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
I say that to people all the time now when I onboard them. I'll say, look, and again, I'm not a huge fan of labeling myself, but I will say to people, I have OCD tendencies.
Yeah.
And that means that if I don't have my September plan done in August, it gives me a lot of anxiety. So can we agree that even though it may seem silly to you, can we agree that I'll see my social media calendar 2 weeks in advance? Because it'll make me feel better. And ultimately, you'll feel better because you'll get it done and you'll have 2 weeks of time to unplug. So creating a benefit for them and not making it be like just all about me. And I've told my daughters that because of how my brain is wired, it's not that I'm not listening to them. It's that I may have moved on.
Yeah.
I may have processed it and moved on to the next topic, but I am really I majored in behavioral psychology undergrad. And so I really am trying to catch myself and change some of my innate behaviors because I don't think it's ever too late. But
Yeah.
I do have acquaintances that, I've never asked them if they're on the spectrum, but I suspect that they are. And I've just learned how to show them a certain level of grace. If they don't say please or thank you, if they're very abrupt with me, if they say something that's like blurting something out. So if you could just also share with our listeners and our viewers, when you are put in a situation as a business person with somebody whose brain is and behaviors are radically different from yours, are there some simple tricks? I mean, I realize you can't like oversimplify it because everybody is different, but what are some socially acceptable ways of dealing with that behavior as opposed to saying, you're effing driving me crazy. You didn't say thank you when I gave you this gift, or that's just rude. Like, how do you politely but openly deal with those situations?
Everything that we're about to talk about in response to that can be summed up by one quick sentence. So I'm going to lead with that first.
Love that.
Be curious, not furious.
Love that. Remember, be curious, not furious.
Right.
That is a
So
caption indeed.
it helps indeed, right? Like, Nancy, I was a little late today, right? I was, I know you wanted me here a little earlier. I was wrapping up with a client. And it's one of those things like you can sit there and be like, where's Dr. Matt? Where's Dr. Matt? Where's Dr. Matt? And just get angrier and angrier and angrier, which is decreasing your ability to successfully navigate the situation, whatever it is. But if you can say, Dr. Matt's not here, I wonder what's going on, it naturally puts you in a position to be more empathetic, more thoughtful, more reflective. And maybe I'm late because I forgot and I'm blowing you off, and that sucks. But then you're allowed to be upset about it. But think
Well, I
about
had the opposite reaction. It was my chronic self-flagellation, which is, oh, I must have sent him the wrong link and he's having trouble logging in. And once you said I'm with a client, my anxiety level
it.
immediately went down 10 notches. So yeah, great strategy. And it's only taken me close to 70 years to really understand how my own brain is wired and what my micro triggers are.
Yeah.
And it's never too late, which is
No.
one of the whole points of Age Blind, is
Right.
whether you're 21 or 101, humans are capable of change.
Yeah. There's a thing we say in my line of work all the time. The best time to start something was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Right. And so like, to pair what you said, whether you're 21 or 101, like we're all sitting, we're carrying so much shame. I meant to go to the gym. I wanted to go back to school. I'm trying to write my novel and I haven't done those things yet. So ergo, I suck. And it's like, hey guys, I don't know if you've paid attention to anything in the last decade or so, but life is freaking hard. There's a lot of things that get in the way. So if you can meet yourself with grace and compassion, right? Assume positive intent, right? I meant to, it didn't happen. What can I learn from this thing? It's the cousin of be curious, not furious. Be curious about yourself. What's getting in my way right now? Is it something as simple as I haven't eaten lunch yet? Or is something as more global like I don't feel like I can move houses until I figure out my romantic situation with my partner? Either way, those are real barriers, and those barriers can get in the way of us doing the changes we want to make. Whether you're neurodivergent or neurotypical, change is
Love
hard.
that. Love
Yeah.
that, Dr. Matt. And the same way a teacher will say at parent teacher conferences, we'll ask a parent, is there something going on at home? If they notice a change in kids' behaviors, I think we as adults can also ask ourselves, is there something going on at home? I just moved 2 weeks ago, super stressful, and I just cut myself some grace because I'm like, all right, this is why my sleep is screwed up. This is why I'm testy, because it was a massive life change. And I'm going to show myself a little grace. And one of the F's in Nancy AF actually stands for flawed. So I'm going to leave my listeners and viewers with that we are all flawed. None of us is perfect. So just accept what's wrong, what's wrong, what's different about you, what's different about the people that you're dealing with, and just work on those things that you can fix. So 20 minutes really is flying by. Again, this is our new format. So one thing I want to leave our listeners and viewers with is if you have questions for Dr. Matt and would like to have him come on again as a guest, or would like to just ask questions and have him answer them, you can reach me at nancyashenker@gmail.com. Please follow us on Age Blind, on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube, if you would like to see our faces, and wherever you get your podcast content. And if you'd like to be a guest, we are booking people for later this year. So please, again, reach out. And Dr. Matt, if people are interested in scheduling an appointment with you or a consultation or reading some of what you've written, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Well, I am chronically online. So I have two professional identities. The name of our therapy practice is the neurodiversitycollective.com. And, we are a neurodivergent centric practice. Everyone who works there is a neurodivergent person, but you don't need to be neurodivergent for us to see you. We will take anybody who walks through our door, virtually, of course. The other part of my professional identity is taking the things we've talked about in these 20 minutes and applying them to organizations, companies, groups, conferences, schools, that sort of thing. So that's drmattzakreski.com. So I always say, like, if you need me for you, it's the neurodiversitycollective.com. If you need me for your organization, it's drmattzakreski.com. Because we try and just sort of keep those things separate. But if you end up at one place and you're still in the other, we'll still help you. That's what we're here to do. It's the most important thing is that you raise your hand, right? Because the world has way more tools and resources and helpers that are here for you than you think. Your anxiety is telling you, no one will get me, no one will help me. I'm doomed to carry this heavy burden alone, like Jacob Marley from Christmas Carol. But until you raise your hand and say, these are things I need help with, nobody can help you because they don't know they don't.
Right. And I think as a result of, and I don't want to get political, although when I do get political, I get a lot of comments on my content, but we're also living in a world where a lot of our world leaders have severe issues in terms of the way they deal socially with other people. So we're getting to see that now played out, a combination of their personalities and the popularity of social media, that every time a world leader or a US leader does something that is not, considered normal or polite or, off the spectrum, whatever that may mean, it gets amplified in social media. So I do think the timing is really good for us to have these conversations about what is going on in people's brains that makes them different, sometimes weird, sometimes angry, sometimes abusive. And how can we live in that world where having radically, radically different styles and differences of opinion can often result in World War III, not literally. But yeah, I think now is a really good time for us to talk about how we all get on the same page, which is ultimately what Age Blind is about as well, and not categorizing people just on a date on a birth certificate, a label that they've been given by a psychologist, and really try to get to know each other on a deeper level so that it's going to sound very kumbaya, but so that we can all get along.
But honestly, there's nothing wrong with kumbaya, right? Because it's an aspirational goal. Like we've become so tribal, right? And it's like, well, they're autistic, so I can never get along with them. Why? Who's to say? It might be harder to, it might take a stretch from you, but it's one of those things that you're not going to get along with everybody, but everybody is someone you could get along with. So if you phrase yourself as that everything is value added or the potential to add value, then you position yourself as a person who is a willing participant in the universe, not someone who feels like aggrieved that differences exist. Right? If I walk into a sandwich shop and I want an Italian sub and they have roast beef sandwiches and tuna salad and turkey sandwiches, I don't get offended by those other options. I was like, well, okay, where's my Italian sub? There it is. I'm going to order that. And if I get stuck with a turkey sandwich, I'm going to find a way to enjoy it. We
love that.
Right? Like flexibility, you don't need flexibility to be successful, right? But I would say that the more flexible you are, the more successful you can be. And fundamentally, living in a neurodivergent world is about flexibility. And I think that's a cool thing to get to talk about.
That was terrific, Dr. Matt. And again, if you'd like to hear more, just reach out and keep on listening, keep on watching, and keep on being tolerant and accepting of the other people in your universe. So have a great day, everybody. Peace out.
Peace out.